What up, Tenny Nation? Welcome to the live episode at Adepticon 2026. For the first 10 minutes of the episode, we had some audio issues, so we're going to skip right past that into the good stuff. Enjoy.
But the model wasn't even assembled and primed, and there was no miniature holder, and there was no wet palette.
It wasn't assembled?
It was like, and I sat down, and there was like, not paintbrushes. So anyway, I painted it in about 45 minutes. By the time I collected everything, I had Ellie go over to the Artist Opus booth and buy me an egg. So I had a fucking paint holder to even prime the thing.
Okay.
It was a hot mess, but it was a lot of fun. But anyway, I had to rush, which sucks because I was destroying you.
He was destroying me. However, your main dude who was holding down your fort was just about to croak.
Just about.
And the only reason you didn't croak was because you played some bullshit card that was like, you don't get to do anything. And I was like, oh, okay. But if he would have died, he would drop his special thing, you'd lose your points, and then I would get it.
What special thing?
Well, when you capture one of those stone things, you get an item and 10 points. You drop the item, you lose the 10 points. He
captured one, though.
I know.
I used him as a log jam and all
He was about to, though. He was about to. Okay? You know, we're so sweaty that I was thinking about this game after. I was like, okay, it seemed like John was winning, but was he really? You know, I don't think so, you know? Just like, I know, yeah, I was just talking myself into it. It's like, I was still in that.
That game was so good because within one round of them like walking us through, we knew what the game was. And we were immediately like, I don't know about you, but I could see in your eyes, you were the same as me. He was talking and telling us what the rules were, and I was not listening at all. I was just reading my cards and planning 2 turns ahead.
Yeah.
I was like all right.
Even the first thing we did was place terrain, and immediately it was competitive. Yeah. John takes his biggest thing and puts it in the middle of this 30-inch by 30-inch board. I was like, okay, I see how it is. And so it just right away from the beginning, it was amazing.
Yeah, because the Fallen, if they have a certain keyword, you can have them spawn right on my terrain.
Yeah.
And then in my opening hand, I had an equipment that I could put on any of my characters that gave them that keyword. So I started the game by making my champion be able to spawn on any of my undead terrain, and I fucking plopped him right in front of Scott's dudes, and I just charged in with vampire powers. It was so good.
That was so good. That was good. Time check? How we doing?
Yeah, one job.
All right, about half the way through.
Plenty of time.
All right, very cool. Let's talk Golden Demon.
Oh boy.
Give me, so you know, it's not your first rodeo. You've won a few Golden Demons by this point, a few, that's beautiful. Mm-hmm. You can maybe get a sense, how confident are you feeling in your piece on a scale of 1 tendy to 10 tendies?
Coming up to the event, I was feeling more confident than I ever have been in prior years.
Okay.
And then, per usual, put it in the case, and then I see the other amazing pieces that everyone else has done, and I'm like, nope, not anymore. I don't know. And you know, I look at it in there, and it's all blown out with the light, but then so is everybody else's, and like, no, it looks better than that at home. So then I'm like, you look at it enough times in the Golden Demon case, you think that's what it actually looks like, and then I'm like, I did a terrible job this year. But I know it's the piece that, of anything that I've painted, maybe ever, not whether for Golden Demon or not, that I'm most proud of the scene that it is, in a way that somebody that doesn't know our hobby, somebody that is completely a normie, like when my mom and dad come over and I show them this piece, I think they will think it's the coolest because it reads as more of a storybook fantasy scene. It's a troll under a bridge, right? And there's a good guy and a bad guy, and there's a scene, and there's water, and there's a ruined bridge. Like, it just feels, yes, it's Warhammer, but you'd have to know nothing about Warhammer to see that scene. So I'm really happy with that. It's the piece that I feel like I've leveled up the most in composition.
Okay. Question about Golden Demon. So obviously it's really difficult to detach yourself from the success of meddling at a competition. You know, people always like to say that, oh, the real win is finishing, putting in the effort, having the thing in the case. But you know, I know how brains work. Do you have any strategies for detaching yourself partially from the result? or fully from the result? Like, do you have any, like, now that's your third time doing this, is it just like a familiarity breeds some kind of, you know?
You're asking me if I'm like emotionally mature?
Well, I know the answer to that question.
Yeah, I think everybody does. No, I'm not. Actually, I had a really good conversation around the cases last night with Neil Hollis, Slayer Sword winner from a few years ago. He's won numerous Golden Demons and the Slayer Sword, obviously. Last year, he didn't place at all. And so we talked about that moment of why Golden Demon is so unique. And that if you have the open structure, Neil will always medal, right? But he went from being the top of the top to nothing. And he's like, you have to just always tell yourself that that can happen to you any year, and remove that from the hard work you put in on the front end.
Okay.
All you're trying to do is just do a thing that you're feeling is pushing you, or something better than you've done before and that you enjoy doing, and that you almost need to appreciate the year that that happens. I'm hedging right now, that you don't get the demon, because then it is the test of your mettle. Does that break you, or does that fuel you?
Mm. Right. That's hardcore.
I know. So
I mean, as hardcore as many painting gets, I suppose, which is very not hardcore.
Right.
Softcore.
yes, yes.
Okay, yeah. We got softcore and wife's cookies. This is getting weird.
Is anybody in the crowd today, did they submit a piece for Golden Demon? Raise your hand.
Oh my gosh, amazing, dude. Amazing.
Wow. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 23.
Oh, wow. Okay.
23.
One of John's skills is speed counting. I didn't know if you know
23 toothpicks, Rain Man. And also both of our champions up here.
We both
have a
picked
piece.
people. Wow, okay. Yeah, I mean, you knew, but that's okay.
Whatever. I talk to the goody peepees.
Okay.
I know every.
No, you just teach them.
backstory of
You just teach them in
everybody.
your classes, and then pick them later for our competition here.
Yes. Okay. Anybody here entering Golden Demon for the very first time? Well, whoa.
Congratulations.
That is about half of the people, or maybe more than half, that raised their hand the first time.
That's pretty awesome.
The first year you enter a competition, whether it's Golden Demon or any other, is the most important one, because you realize there's nothing magical to it. The act of completion will immediately put you in a spot where most people don't cross that finish line. And that's such a big thing, because it's that feeling of accomplishment, seeing something in there, whatever. I don't know how many times I hear of people around this convention like, oh, I'm thinking of a thing that I'm going to do next year. I've got this idea. I want to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm like, oh, did you paint for something for this year? No. Have you painted before? No. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm glad you're excited. But crossing the finish line is so much different than saying, I have an idea. I want to. It's cool. Now act.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite booth in the vendor hall? Have you gone through it before? I can start too.
Yeah, you go first.
I was really digging Monuments booth. You know, it's a like experience like thing first, product thing second. You know, like you walk up and there are 2 rows of customer facing painting stations, so they're really easy to get into. Everything's lit by these same lights. There are products everywhere for you to use, models pre-primed on handles, unlike with your spray gunner situation. No one had to go and buy things and come back. I thought that was just really cool, you know? Maybe people have done that before, but I've never seen it. And so it was really cool to have this kind of like it was almost like they're not focused so much on selling. They're focused more on outreach, people learning about Monument, getting to really experience the paint range and other products they have to offer and kind of make their own decisions. So I've always kind of really appreciated how Monument is kind of like that. And now they're even kind of living that with their booth setup, you know? So I like that a lot.
Yeah, the whole theme of celebration of art this year.
Oh, and also in the booth, they're running a competition too, which is an open competition where you can submit any model you want and stuff like that. And that's cool too.
Yeah. I mean, as far as me, I'm going to be honest, nothing immediately jumps out at me. I really was impressed by, especially Thursday, the StarCraft booth and how fucking packed and sweaty it was. It was just wrapped around like a spiral 3 times around the booth with people waiting in line, with like the average buy price of stuff in people's arms was like $800.
Oh my gosh. Anyone here buy the StarCraft game?
Anybody buy StarCraft?
All right.
Yeah. a handful.
Anyone here play StarCraft the RTS? Okay, significantly
Wow.
more. Okay, Brood Wars, StarCraft 2? Both. All right, cool. You ever play StarCraft? You into
No.
sweaty RTSs? No, okay.
No, I lived out in the country, dog. I didn't have the internet.
Okay.
Yeah, what I did was I did this game where the AOL would send you the CDs for like
The AOL.
The AOL would send you the CDs. Also, Netscape Navigator. Hype.
Oh man, Netscape Navigator.
Yeah.
Holy
So what
shit.
I'd do is I'd start a new email address. I would register that, and I'd get internet for anywhere between 30 and 90 days, and then that's how I could play EverQuest for a little while, and then I couldn't anymore.
Yeah.
That was
Okay. You didn't play sweaty RTSs. You just played sweaty MMORPGs.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
That's where the sweat went.
Ironically, those games are similar in age and are still being played to this day. So, we both have exquisite taste.
Okay. Yes. Me too. Right. Right. How are you doing on time? Got to be coming up on something here. 7.5 minutes.
Oh, we're almost at 5-minute warning. 5-minute warning. Now, after the first round of 30 minutes, what I'm going to do is, I forgot to do this at the beginning, but I roughly want to break the crowd into my champion and Scott's champion. So roughly right where the camera is, down the middle, if you are on this side, okay, you are my champion. That side, you're Scott's champion. If you have something that might aid your side's champion, whether that's, maybe it's contrast paint, maybe it's a better paintbrush, maybe it's, I don't know what else would they have? Makeup sponge, I don't know. And the champions can say like, does anyone have this? I want this. Yell it out and see if your team can support you. Otherwise, they are stuck with, I don't know even how good the brushes are in there. How good are the brushes? Pretty good? Fine, they get the job done? Okay, so it's like one sharp brush, one small dry brush, and then what's the third one? Still a bigger blocky brush. Okay, that's plenty. Huh. Okay, so yeah, at any point after the first 30 minutes, if you want to support your team, because I have a couple of extra wet pellets that we're going to give away tonight, and I'm going to throw them like Frisbees.
Please don't.
And I think what we'll do is that in order to have you really cheer on your champion, the 2 extra wet pellets will be given away to the side of the champion side that wins. So I really want you to support your champion.
Okay.
Okay?
That's the incentive.
Also, I want to do
There
this
are
right
2
now.
pallets amongst the 75 of you. Holy shit, someone's gonna die. Oh, I bounced. What was that?
That was paint soap.
Okay.
What is this? Oh, these are rubber things like you put on your pencil when you're learning to write as a kid, but they're for paintbrushes. Let's see how far this one flies. Not very far. Run! Run!
Dive on it now. One thing we want to do later, after the first segment is done here, is hear some hobby hot takes from you. Originally, our plan was to collect them on Post-it notes and put them in a hat, but we have neither a hat or Post-it notes.
Yeah,
And
that's
so-
still in a bag on my painting desk at home.
So instead of maybe calling up people for just generic questions, I want you to think about if you have a hot take about the hobby, either art related, Space Marines suck. That's a classic one. Any of them, bring them up and we want to discuss them. We'll have a third person here and then we'll give our opinion on your hot take. So
Yeah,
get
very
that
much.
ready, okay?
That, and if you have general questions that you want to ask
Oh,
us
yeah.
as well, those are also, we're going to have a time for that later
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
But we wanted to see how spicy of a title of this video we can make it.
Right. Yeah.
We have 5-minute warning. 5 minutes till brush is down for the first part.
Okay.
So yeah, so the spicy hot takes are always great.
Tell me about your Adepticon late night activities. Is it all Magic the Gathering?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than this night. Wednesday night, Magic. Thursday night, Magic. Friday night, Magic.
Okay. Jeez.
Tonight, podcast, pizza, probably Magic. So
Okay.
if you play Magic, what we've done is we've commandeered a room that's just off to the side from where the Golden Demon cases is. It's like N204C. Is that right, guys? Sounds about right. Where there's no official place to play Magic here, but we do is we find a room each year, and then over the course of the con, we just spread the word, and then more people, more pods, more games are going over time. And I kind of like it because apparently there is an official Magic room, but but you have to like pay $10 to play for the night.
Wow. Okay.
And it's just to literally use the room.
Okay.
Like they don't have prize support. They're not structuring events. They're just like, no dog, we're just gonna go over there and do the same thing.
There are plenty of horizontal surfaces to put cards on in this building. You don't need to pay for it really.
Yeah, I like the opportunity to play and demo games and get supportive people that make their game. But in the evenings, it's just about magic, baby.
Yeah. Okay.
About magic.
Fair. Did you have other collaborations you've done? So you did the spray gunner thing. We did the malediction thing. Did you have other things where you had like to do something at a booth or something like that?
Yes. Well, on the first day, I had an interview with Warhammer TV.
Oh, really? How'd that, dude? Tell me how that went.
Yeah, Warhammer Plus. It's going to be on Warhammer Plus, I guess.
I love that.
Yeah, so I had an interview about Golden Demon and about my history with Golden Demon, kind of what I've learned along the way. He asked me a bunch of really cool, very interesting questions, very sweaty questions, and it was funny going into it. I'm going to get in trouble if they, whatever. They said, make sure you use the exact correct name when talking about any model that you're talking about. And I immediately froze and I said, I don't remember the name of the models.
Did you say Swamp Boggler at any point in the interview?
I was like, I believe Swamp Boggler and Fox Lady are what it says on the box.
Yeah. Vince, can we get a check on that? AOS Wizard, Swamp Boggler? Okay, we got a thumbs up. Okay.
So Boglin. And then like, if you talk about specific products, they have to be Games Workshop products. So I'm like, all right, I'm not talking about products, I guess.
Okay.
But it was really good. It has really interesting questions. I guess there's going to be a whole series from a variety of people that painted for Golden Demon and talk about their history and blah, blah, blah. But it was like an hour-long interview. So it's not just like a 5-minute clip.
Holy cow. That's so cool. Okay. Speaking of GW and speaking of GW products, previously on the podcast, we were talking about like things that GW makes and like, are they gatekeeping the hobby? It's like, oh, they don't make a wet palette, so like maybe they're gatekeeping it in that way. But someone actually messaged me a picture of a GW wet palette.
What?
Yeah, I have it on my phone. I didn't know it was a thing, but it was it seemed totally legit. It was a GW wet palette, had branding all over it, and it was in a package and everything. Does anyone know about the GW wet palette?
I think that was AI, dude.
Okay, maybe it was. I don't know. I have no idea.
No, it didn't say GW. It said GM. That's Golden Maple. Straight out of Shanghai, my friend.
Straight out of Shanghai.
And they don't have to worry about that IP.
No. Okay.
That makes no sense. But also, they don't make a wet palette. That's fine. We've got other great companies that we can support that make great wet palettes. That's fine. Also, you just talked about Monument Hobbies. They don't believe in wet palettes either. We don't crucify them. Yeah. But we should, but we don't.
I mean, we kind of do crucify Jason for that
we do.
awful take.
We do.
How many wet palette haters are in this room?
Anybody not use a wet palette? Raise your hand. Okay. All right. Let's judge you.
Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed right now.
That's okay.
No, maybe that's a hot take that's coming up.
Yeah.
Wet palettes are dog shit.
Really word that hot take around why you think the wet palette is overhyped.
Yeah.
By all means. Where are we at for our 5-minute warning?
15 seconds! Holy cow.
Let's take a break from Adepticon Live to thank our TUP partners. First on the list is Steamforged Games. You want to play the best miniature war game in the world? Look no further than friggin' Guild Ball. The STLs, the rules are available online. It's all very easily accessible. Go check it out. It's my favorite friggin' game. Next up, we have the Army Painter. They're coming out with a new paint cup that has a bunch of fun rubbery tendrils at the bottom to help you clean out your paintbrush. And you can also find all the John Blanche paint sets all together in one big masterclass set. Check it out at their website. Next on the list is Red Grass Games, and they wanted us to shout out their light that has rotating lights on it to allow you to position the light wherever you need to avoid casting awkward shadows that make painting kind of difficult. And last up, we have Corvus Belli. They have a new unit for the Hawk Islam faction in Infinity called the Hathram Arrow unit. And they also have a special tournament package you can buy if you're hosting a tournament in your local game store. It comes with prize support, it comes with unique models that you can't find anywhere else that you can use as packages, medals, all kinds of awesome stuff that you can find linked down in the show notes or description below.
5, 4, 3,
2, 1.
All right.
I just realized you do not have paper towel.
He's been using
Josh,
his
can you go to the bathroom?
Did you give paper towel to your painter?
No.
Okay. Just checking.
Danny, you don't have paper towel.
I would have immediately canceled this event. No, I wouldn't.
Like,
I also just realized that both of them have beanies on, dude.
Towel?
Beanie crew.
That's true. You just suck all that paint out. Yeah. Take the brush.
All right. Are we going to look at it? We should look at it over here so we can talk into the mics.
Oh, Vince is always prepared.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Vince. All right.
You're welcome.
Oh, you had the mic still? Oh, God. Ooh, baby. Okay. Are you feeling warm gray for the hard armor? Like a light brown? Okay. Almost tannish. Is the head thing done? Is that the goal? Not yet. And you want to go lighter and okay, just tiny bit. Okay, so we got a green, electric green skin, a warm grayish, brownish armor. I love that. I love the vibrant green with the more desaturated opposite color, opposite hue. I think that works really great. Honestly,
No notes?
I have no notes. I think the scheme is great. I think the colors are the green, which I assume is mostly done at this point because you moved on to the armor, is popping. It's amazing for 30 minutes. What are you doing with the gun? Okay. Are you thinking about adding a third color? Vibrant color? Vibrant color? I don't know if the whole gun should be red, but depending on how warm the scales go, I feel like you should have either a red tongue, red teeth, red eyes, red in like the stuff that is like showing like membrane on their arms, and then maybe some red in like the gun as well, but not like the main color. And that would just be like a beautiful spot color that would kind of mesh with the warmth of this grayish brown color. Maybe there's a thought. You don't have to go with that, but
no pressure.
really great.
Figure your shit out, Matt.
Wait, is this bad? Can I not do this?
No, I'm just telling him. I'm just making him second guess himself.
The mind games, dude. Okay.
Fear is the mind killer.
Oh, all right. Can you do the rest of the litany?
Yeah, I mean, whatever. That's fine, Matt. Whatever. All right. So what Danny has started here with is what it appears to be a underpainting wet blend from a deep, rich purple up to like a burgundy. And Danny's working in warm tones up to what looks almost like a rust red for the skin, and then leaning more into those purples on the carapace. What's going to be interesting, because there's a lot of color harmony going on, is where the differentiation starts to happen for one of those two, because right now your value level is very universal. So one of them is going to have to go higher in value, so you really can see the differentiation between those. I would recommend the skin to go brighter. I think you can get real sickly and real almost feeling like weird human skin tone, like that's awkward. But there's so much depth of color already. Like you've taken the first 30 minutes to devise a color depth and volume strategy, and you are able to then spend basically 60 minutes of pushing the vibrancy and the refinement. You've gone a long way in 30 minutes. It's almost like you took a class that taught you how to do this.
Are you employing the strategies he taught in the class right now? This is bullshit. I didn't get to teach this guy a class. I don't even know his fucking name.
No, Matt is very good.
No, I can tell. In 30 minutes, that looks really good.
He's diorama. So this is in diorama, and it's an entire 40K battle scene. When you go into the Golden Demon cases, look for the biggest fucking thing. That's Matt. It looks like a fucking like a school lunch tray that you just put models on and entered it in the case.
I love that. Okay, we're gonna get started here, starting up the next 30-minute segment. You ready to go? All right. Let's get started right now.
Woo!
Okay, now we're gonna have a guest painter up here. We'd like to go through a few of them, and we'd love for you to come up and tell us your hobby hot takes, and we will react to them, give our thoughts on them. Maybe they are hot, maybe they're cold, maybe we agree, maybe we disagree. And we'd love to have Vince come up first to join us for at least one or two hot takes. How's it going, Vince?
Vincey B. Wah, wah, wah. Out there.
All right, and then if you want to come stand next to the stage, that'd be behind the speakers. And
So if you have a hobby hot take, and you don't need to have even that much confidence in your hot take, if you're like, I don't even know if at my core, I believe this, but I want to put it out into the universe. I mean, this is the time. Let your spirit
this is the
fly.
time. That encouraged some people.
A lot of people standing up.
I brought candy.
Oh my gosh.
I like candy.
Bubblegum and taffy. Skip hop to the sweet shop with my sweetheart Sandy.
Goddamn DJ.
Any Aqua Teen fans in the house?
Me water with the honey seed.
Okay, first hot take from Time Master himself, Kronos. What's up?
Introduce yourself first.
Any Hades 2 fans out there?
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Great game.
Great game.
Hi, I'm Wheeler. My hot take is, you guys have talked about this before. I think the Redgrass Games reusable palette paper is reusable and should be reused, and you guys don't think that. That's my hot take.
Okay, all right. So I feel like
Repeat the question.
that Redgrass wet palette paper is in fact reusable, and you should reuse it. I think it is as reusable as the baking paper I get from the grocery store. I know, but I guess it's not special, you know? I mean, maybe it is. Maybe it's a thing worth marketing.
It has an extra coating on it. It does. I don't know. I give this a 2 out of 10 on the hot takes. The product that's, I'm sorry. This is not, you got to come with, whoever's in line, if you've got to take this week, go sit down. I'm sorry you had to be first.
Oh my God.
Okay?
Oh my God.
But like, are you telling me the reusable thing with the extra coating, you can wash it off and get some more uses out of it? Man, we are breaking new ground here, okay? Like, yeah, these two were wrong in the past, but that's also par for the course. That's like nothing to celebrate.
God damn, bro.
I found the very first time that I washed it off, the fibers started to show. And I'm like, immediately when I see this, I'm like, into the garbage with thee. Now, I agree that it's possible, but when I think about how much time I want to spend on my hobby and how much time I want to spend dealing with bullshit related to my hobby instead of hobbying, I mean, I'm just going to get, you can buy a quart, because it comes in quarts, of parchment paper.
That is, that's official. That's how it comes. Yeah,
That is the unit of measurement.
yeah.
Hold on. This coming from the guy who does origami with his fucking paper towel so he can continue to use every single dimension of it.
Raise your hand if you also get the most metric use out of your paper towels.
That's fine.
Yes.
That's
There are
fine.
literally dozens of us.
But I find it strange that you do that with that, but not with the wet palette paper. Like, that's an inconvenience.
Yeah, because it's no extra time, right, Vince? It's no extra time to reuse. In fact, it's more time efficient to flip the motherfucker.
I mean,
Right.
yeah, I do that too. But inevitably, what happens is I take that thing, the whole thing, and I use it to clean off my airbrush, and then it gets all wrinkly and nasty, and then I just fucking throw it away and get another one because it
Separate
costs me
one,
like
right?
1 cent.
The answer is separate one. Yeah, separate one for airbrush.
Okay.
Yeah, separate one, obviously.
Okay.
This guy.
Yeah.
Do you reuse wet palette paper?
No, but no, obviously not. I mean, there's like, how many pieces of wet palette paper come out of a tree? 17 million? Every piece of wet palette paper ever is 2 trees.
How many pieces of paper towel comes out of a tree? 8 million?
Probably a lot. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, then what's the difference?
Because you get, it's rewarding when you refold it and then you get that. There's a nice feeling there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know, we're kind of arguing. Yeah, you are right.
Apparently, it's fostered discussion about related topics.
Okay. That was an okay one. I'm not going to shit on it as much as Vince did. All right. What's our next hot take from Sleep Token Man?
My name's Tyndall.
Okay.
And my hot take is, if you've ever read Search to Freak, the Desmond Tiny's little minion guys that he makes are the same as Watchers in the Dark.
Okay. I know none of those words.
He just spoke English. I'm sure of it.
I'm so sorry, bro.
All right, man.
Was he talking about Despicable Me minions?
No. From the reaction in the crowd, I'm going to say no.
That sounded like a really cultured thing you said.
Yeah. See, Vince
And,
only knows about Age of Sigmar and various 80s
I
fantasy
know all
movies.
lowbrow things. Yeah, exactly. You literally went over the collective panel's head.
I think that there's someone very angry in the comments right now disagreeing with him.
Hey, person in the future, if you know all about this, explain in the comments why this is a hot take.
They already are. You do not need to even tell them that.
Yeah, good.
Okay, the little guys, the familiars.
The little tiny guys who follow around the Dark Angels. Now, what was it about
they
them?
like clean the sword or hold the helmet. Yeah. And they're the same as something else. In Cirque de Freak. Okay.
I believe you.
Yep.
I agree.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great take.
I'm sorry.
Nailed it.
All right. What do we got? Acid wash sweatshirt.
Hi, I'm John.
Hi, John.
My hot take is miniature paintings' roots in scale modeling, combined with GW's focus on smoothness of blends, has stunted the medium artistically and made it push towards realism instead of artistic expression.
Now,
Do you feel like realism and art are mutually exclusive?
I think this guy's exactly right. Now, finally, someone has had the guts to stand up and say it. This is that Norman Rockwell painting right here, that dude. Okay.
Hold on. Is Rembrandt not art? Isn't that not realistic? Uber realistic?
No, oftentimes there's a lot of like past masters that would purposely. Rembrandt's a great example because if you go look at Rembrandt or a lot of the old masters, yes, they will absolutely construct light within their spotlight and their focus in an incredibly realistic way. But if you get close, you see a ton of brushstrokes and stuff like that. They're not focused on ultra smoothness. If you go towards the outside of the painting, they will fuzz the outside. They'll play with focus. They'll change how resolved all of the elements of the painting are to point and draw your eye around the piece. We've reduced miniature painting through a combination of rivet counting and a British obsession with smoothness to a very like central way of understanding how we evaluate something. Like, yes, that's absolutely true, that credibility and realism become ultimately preeminent. Now, I think that at the same time, there is a lot of push, especially among several of the open competitions in the world, where that's not the case. I will say, like, I just judged something earlier today where we literally have 2 awards, and one was for best painting, and that was very technical, and that was what we evaluated there. And one was for best creativity and atmosphere, and that was not at all to the same, like, quote unquote technical level, but it was an absolutely stunning, gorgeous piece that explored the art and the medium in a completely new way. Boom. You can do both.
I feel like your Rembrandt comments are a thing that is unique to the medium of large canvas painting, because you can still paint with brushstrokes and not super smoothness, and then step back 10 feet and look at a piece and it feels smooth and it looks smooth. I feel like with miniatures, because it's so small, you have to focus more on that because you can't really take 10 feet back and look at a model and really analyze it and look at it for what it is. So I feel like Rembrandt is still a good example of something that is realistic, dramatic lighting, very dramatic posing, very strong muscles. There's still exaggeration there, but it's still realistic and also highly artistic.
Yeah, but he's like, the question the question is not, is Rembrandt a great artist?
No,
Well,
it's not. But the question is art and realism mutually exclusive, which I believe the hot take kind of implied.
No, I think he's saying that it's not what he's saying. He said, I'm going to put words in your mouth. He's saying it stunted the growth because in painting, you can be celebrated for being Rembrandt or the old masters who sought out credibility and light and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. But you can also be celebrated like Monet is not doing realism or credibility. Impressionists are not doing realism or credibility. I don't see any Impressionist miniatures in that cabinet out there, and they wouldn't win if they were in there, no matter how good they were. Okay? And that's what he's saying, is not that like we're trying to be, he's saying we haven't explored or opened the world as much as we could. Yes. There you go.
I think ultimately I agree with the take.
It's a great, well thought out point.
This man has wisdom.
Yeah. Good one, John.
10 out of 10.
Would recommend.
Where are we at with time? I would like to do 10 minutes and then swap Vince out, so he's got to be here the entire time. Okay, cool. Do you want to, are you good?
I'm good, yeah.
What do you think, John? 10 minutes per person?
Sure, 10, 15.
Okay. 15.
You want me to go? You want me to go?
Stay. One more.
One more.
Hot take us.
All right.
Howdy, everybody. My name's Zach. Before I go into my hot take, real quick, please support your local museums right now. We're hurting and we would love to help all y'all. Now, don't hold my hot take against your museum. They don't have this hot take. I have two for you. Would you prefer GW or not GW?
Well, I think we'd all prefer, the audience that is going to eventually watch this would prefer GW. The view count of this show would prefer GW.
All right, I'll hit you with my GW one.
Okay.
GW making screw ups is good for the hobby because people spread out from GW when they screw up.
Just, okay, so like, it could be like a PR screw up, a bad mob, anything, any kind of screw up.
Any of their screw ups are good for the hobby in total.
Okay.
Could be bad rule systems.
Yes.
I mean, not that they've ever done that.
No. I love GW rules, man.
So on this other podcast called Fireball the Gazebo, check it out.
Yep.
Where we talk about D&D and RPGs. No, I mean, like, look, this is a classic cyclical thing. In general, most of the major companies, your hegemons that are within the market, have industry cycles where they will go out, they'll release something that's really hot, that really catches fire, grows the hobby, brings a lot of new people in, and then eventually, no matter what, they'll then fail to live up to the accelerated, ever-increasing standards of quality or whatever, but they've expanded the hobby, and then those people then go out.
Can't keep them all happy, you know?
Yeah, you can't keep them all happy. The churn will increase.
Yeah.
I think that's just the natural cycle, and I do think it's a good thing. Like, if the easier GW makes it to bring more people in, the more that means 4 years later there'll be a ton of awesome games and a ton of awesome people playing them.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a really good observation. I agree that it is a good thing, because the more that we open our eyes to options out there, the more these other indie games, startup games, new companies are able to gain some traction. And the more we can diversify the options that we have, then we win. We find a game that we love, something we can be a champion of in our community. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I would agree, though. I think that definitely, any companies don't need to do their own marketing because GW does it for them.
Right.
By messing up, apparently.
Acquiring a new client is actually like really, really expensive, like getting somebody new into the hobby. GW is like shouldering a huge amount of that burden through the onboarding process. And then other companies don't need to then do that. They kind of can just slipstream to the benefit, which is not all a bad thing.
Okay. Now, was that a hot take?
I think it was just like, yes, you have stated a factual pattern in the world. 4 out of 10.
All right. We will dismiss you now, Vince.
Thank you all, everybody.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Vince.
Also, if you didn't know, Vince recently released his Art of book by Dave Taylor.
Crowdfunding right now?
Can they get it here at the con? Game
Envy
Envy
booth. Awesome.
Vince gifted me a copy and wrote a very sexy message on the inside
cover.
And so I read through it this afternoon, and I looked through all the pictures and everything, and he put a lot of effort in not just the pictures of what he's done, but the way he approached the writing and describing. And it's part of just a really fun story to tell, but also really educational along the way. So I can tell, like, Vince does the amount of work of 4 people in any given day, and how he actually had time to do this, I do not understand. Yeah. But it is an amazing book. So
can you
support your local Vince?
Can you give us a little taste of the sexy message?
There was multiple hearts drawn at the end, and that's all I can say.
Okay. All right. Okay. Give it to yourself.
Yeah.
All right. Who should we call up next?
I think we need Zumi up here, don't we?
All right.
Simon.
Zumi Quito. If you don't know who Simon is, he has a channel called Zumi Quito Miniatures. Amazing painter. Definitely one of the better YouTube painters for sure. Like, he paints amazing stuff. Love the series on I Hate Army Painting, so I tried this thing, It's a great series.
You hit the fucking stream on that one, Zumi.
Yeah, it's a good time.
People love that.
Man, this is stressful.
I'm sorry. It happened. All right. Give us your hot take.
Hi, my name's Mark, and I'm on the backside of life now since I'm in my 50s.
Goddamn. Okay.
And multiple concussions, divorce, PTSD, all that fun, happy crap.
Okay.
One thing that I've learned, if you do not have a cookbook for your painting projects, you're an idiot.
You're an idiot. Okay, so the hot take is you being an idiot.
In fact, to prove my point, this is mine.
Okay, all right, he's got it. Proof in the pudding. Okay.
And I'd be honored if you guys would sign it for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a pen?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay.
So the hot take is that if you're not using a cookbook, you're doing it wrong. What's in your cookbook?
Right now, my Custodes army. I've started on my Space Wolves army, along with my Custodes. My Ultramarines I've been doing for decades, so that's just kind of built in.
Sure.
So
So you build up your recipes of all your colors and your steps.
Yep.
So that you don't need to mentally keep that logged
Yeah,
because you just offloaded it.
Yep.
Okay, so the hot take is that you're an idiot if you don't use painting recipes. Well, I guess I'm an idiot because whenever I try, it just, I don't know, I'll put down like 5 notes and then I'll never look at it again. And then it never becomes useful to me. I have some notes about painting in this phone. I have some notes about painting in a random notebook somewhere in my desk, somewhere else. I never really refer back to it. You know, if I need to replicate something, I kind of just do it by eye, and then it seems to look good enough. How do we feel about keeping notes on painting?
Yeah, honestly, I am in the same camp here. I'm a total idiot because, like, at most I can understand like keeping up recipes for your army, like that makes sense. So if you are big on army painting, which I'm not, then I understand that. But like for display pieces, I don't know. I like just winging it.
Okay. John, are you a recipe guy? I kind of feel like
I didn't used to be, and then I got sponsored by the.
Wait,
And
by,
so I just,
by who?
Is it Milanote?
Oh, Milanote. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a free software, and so when I can take pictures on my phone, I can take reference pictures, and then I can make a collage that includes my recipes. Like when I was like, I know I'm going to start my Skaven army. I know Vince is going to paint them all faster than me, and I'm going to have to take a break. And when I come back to him and whoop his monkey ass, then I don't have to worry about remembering what colors did I use, because I used like 4 different recipes for different rat skin, because otherwise I get bored if I do them all the same. I don't have to remember what I use. So sometimes like offloading that mental capacity that you did one time is valuable. And I did find that I also did that for previous Golden Demon pieces. And there is value in, this is a really strong build up for a deep rust up to a mid-tone NMM. And I know that even if I want to alter it slightly, I know back in my cookbook, I've got the core system. So I have something built there. Do I do it on everything I paint? No. But sometimes I'm like, I wish that I would have written it down. But it is extra work that isn't painting, which is kind of part of the struggle. I want to get knee deep in the painting. And not think about that.
You know, I've painted Soulblight, an army. I painted Greyjoy, and the whole army. I've almost finished Dark Eldar, womp womp. And I haven't made a single note about any of those armies. And I feel like they're coming out okay. So,
I mean,
all right. Okay, guy. I can eat a bag of dicks. No, okay. I disagree. No notes. Okay, how about you do notes? Show of hands.
Show of hands.
Decent amount. Okay.
How many people never write anything down? It's just free balling it every time.
Dude, free balling. Free balling's kind of maybe 60-40 right now.
Yeah, 65, 35.
Okay.
I just realized when I said the words, who's free balling it?
Different
and then
question.
I look over and the 9-year-old girl in the audience raises her hand. And I'm like, oh no, John. Dad is raising you right. Great question.
All right. We have our previous year Tendy winner.
Hey, champion.
Obviously, Ryan. Tendy winner. My hot take is I believe you should put as much effort and thought into terrain painting as you do your mini painting.
Ooh.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. Show of hands, who agrees with that? Show of hands, who disagrees with that?
It's about 2 to 1 agree to disagree.
Do you have the same opinion on like bases for models as well?
Yes.
Okay, fair. Okay. I feel like I disagree with this. I feel like you can put so much less effort in and it looks and feels so good. You know?
Yeah.
How do you feel about this?
Yeah, you give Danny the pro tips, not Matt.
Scott. 7-1.
So,
Okay, thank you.
Terrain, are you also referring to the basing on your models or specifically?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Basing the same thing as terrain. Same level of effort as the model. Zumi, how are we feeling?
I feel like absolutely no. Like if you're painting a model, then the subject, the actual model, is the most important part. Like,
okay.
Yeah, that's the focal point. Like just a random rock, like it's not important. You don't have to put as much effort into that, right? Or a random tuft.
Yeah, I agree. Like, okay, imagine how you paint a model's face, right? Super detailed, many layers. Are you going to do that on a piece of terrain that is like 100 times the size? Are you going to paint a piece of terrain with a size 0 brush? You're a liar. You are a liar. I don't believe you one bit.
You dirty liar.
Who said that?
Yeah, I don't think the level of refinement as it's not the focus. Sometimes there are areas, especially if you're painting for a display base, there are some points of secondary focus that are coming from the base that you need to shine. And whether it's a fish that's free floating in your resin pour or some secondary thing that you
or
really
like a
want to
torch
shine.
that's glowing somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't think universally I would agree with that. However, I think more of what that statement shares that I do agree with is that in general, we rush through that part of it when it can really aid us instead of just being a neutral sum.
Yes.
The difference between someone that's thought out and planned and worked on composition, I think is a big factor.
Okay. I feel like terrain can have like as much amazing impact as a model can have, but doesn't require as much effort. But I do agree that they should both have like the same level of like oomph and like impact, you know? And that comes from terrain, like using like dry pigments, using tufts on the terrain, having like moss and ivy on like the walls and stuff, and like really going for those special effects. Maybe the effort comes from a different set of strategies and skills than it would on the model itself, maybe. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm definitely not spending the same amount of time.
Yeah, and you can spend more time on doing some research too, as oftentimes getting real world references from environments where it's maybe you're not spending as much time in the physical execution of the painting, but spending more time on the front end research end. I think is oftentimes when we close our eyes and we think of what are the colors in cement or what are the colors in a beach, we think sand color. And if you look at real world reference pictures, you'd see the great diversity and depth of color. So on the front end, I think it's valuable. So you don't have to spend all that time on the execution.
Yeah, like I agree that it should be thought out. Yeah. But like to put as much effort as in the miniature itself, I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay. How many pieces of terrain have you painted? Any or no?
I don't know, like 2.
Okay, I didn't mean to put you on a spot. I haven't painted that many either.
I'm at 2 as well.
Okay, yeah, I think I might not that many. Okay, all right. I like that take. That was good. That was a good hot take. All right, next one.
All right. My name's Alex. I am not a game designer, so I think any game that requires you to place terrain on the table should have a prescribed handful of maps that are designed and not symmetrical.
Okay. Just because you don't think it's a good use of time to like play stuff. Okay. All right. I feel like it's helpful, but I feel like there's also some expression of strategy in where you put terrain, especially if it has fun effects, like in an older version of AOS, like pieces of terrain had like +1 spell casting, like -1 move, and all these things. Or in the game we played with Malediction, like you could summon dudes from your thing, or I had +1 on my casting when I was in my terrain. So I feel like there is some expression of strategy in terrain placement, and it's okay to have it in some games and okay to not have it in others. You know, I don't think every game needs to prescribe it.
I think this is actually a really good take. What's the video game that you love playing the most?
Dota.
The Dota map is absolutely curated for an experience.
It is.
And if your game relies on the strategy of the first 15 seconds of when we sit down and placing a thing to abuse, let's be honest, it either has very little effect or it's heavily abused and has a massive effect. So if the game just has maps, you can focus on your strategy on what makes your games good, not who can get you in the gotcha step of placing the terrain.
Okay.
I think that's a great comment.
I think it definitely like changes the focus of the game more to like, it kind of like hones in on like what's important to think about, right?
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
You have thoughts on this?
I have no opinion on this whatsoever.
Okay. I like that.
What do we have for time? All right, we got time for one more question.
hot take. What you got, sir? Love what's this?
Oh, it's just a painting award. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
My name's Eric. Thanks. Yeah, my hot take is that I think that there's a separate art to painting for looking good on a game table. Similar to like there's a separate acting style for acting on a stage as opposed to acting on a camera. And I really feel like I'm not even talking about like a display board. I'm talking about like on a table in a game. You got to paint different to make it look good. And I feel like there's not enough focus on how to paint things to look good when you're playing the game.
Okay. I feel like.
Good hot take.
Can you speak to this a little bit, maybe?
Yeah, I think that's not a hot take. That's just true. That's just stating the obvious. You just gotta bump up the contrast for it to look good on the table, and yeah, that's it. I agree 100%.
Was it obvious to you before you started your foray into army painting? Like when you had no army painting experience, but a lot of display painting, and you you like painted your first unit, like was it immediately obvious, or did you like learn it over a few attempts?
Well, I got into painting through playing Warhammer. So
okay.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. Like, I guess.
Okay. I feel like when I painted the couple of armies I painted, I learned that is definitely true. I completely agree with that. And it definitely changed the way I paint. Definitely a focus more on airbrushing to get like really smooth blends, high contrast, faster than with a paintbrush. But I don't know if I really put a ton of effort into thinking about it too much. I just like spend less time on the futzy parts of painting, getting smooth blends on armor panels and small details and things like that, because it's less important, because the further you get away, the harder it is to see that kind of stuff.
I think it's a really good take because I don't think it's talked about very much. And that's why I think it's good to bring this up. And I think there's 75% of the painting things that you are taught or that are universally strong for making you a better painter, make your paint job stronger. That doesn't matter whether it's for display, speed painting, or army. 75% are going to be the same. But that 25% that's different, I think that's what's really interesting. And because you think about, you have to assume bad lighting. That's a big part of it. Your gaming area is not in your perfect studio where everything is controlled. And number two, you have to think of visual distance. So what happens in that 25% of difference in painting that factors in room lighting and distance? And that's interesting.
Are you painting, so let's say you have a model that's a gold demon winning character. Would that character not look good on a table in a game store?
It would look good, but it would be an entire waste of time for that extra 100 hours you spent on it.
I agree.
You would not see that.
I agree.
Right.
But would you change anything about the way we're going to paint that model, knowing it was going to be a gaming model? Would the contrast increase? Would any part of it be positively affected? So obviously you can just spend less time and it looks worse, and that's fine. But are you going to like push even further in certain categories for that model?
I think subtlety, you have to throw subtlety out the window.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. For example, like you can tolerate certain amount of muscle islands.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Of course.
What's our time? All right. 1 minute. Thank you, Zumi, for joining us.
Thank you, Zumi.
This is the first time we got to meet Zumi in person. You know? Thanks.
I'm excited to see my guy's paint job. I know yours sucks, so.
No, I have a lot of confidence in Danny.
Okay.
Also, I think this is going to be a very interesting, when this comes down to the wire, it's going to be in that last 30 minutes of who can push the furthest, I think.
And then,
because they're both technically very good painters.
Yeah.
And they both seem to be pretty efficient with time.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, the little things. What's going to put it over the top?
What are the thoughts on the base? Painted, of course, right?
Yeah.
Because one thing that Vince taught me.
I fucking put texture paste on there for,
Hope you guys are enjoying the TUP Live episode. I want to take another brief break to thank our TUP partners. First one being Game Envy. They have a bunch of amazing accessories, hobby holders, the web palette that I personally love to use a lot, and also an amazing lamp as well. You can find a ton of great stuff for your hobby needs linked down in the show notes at Game Envy. Next on the list is Monument Hobbies, and they want to shout out their new Pro Acryl one-step product, which is in response to GW's contrast paint and Iron Painter's speed paints. It's supposed to give depth of color and a smooth finish in one coat, and is also compatible with all of their other paints as well, so you can mix with the current range to your heart's content. And last but certainly not least is Iwata, my chosen airbrush brand. I've used an Iwata HPCS or an Iwata HPBH for literally the last decade. I've tried a bunch of them, and this is the brand for me. Dependable tools for beginners and pros alike. Check them out. All of our TUP partners are linked down in the show notes and description below.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Brushes down.
Woo!
All right.
Hold on.
All right, Matt.
Ooh, purple. Okay. I always have okay, this looks fantastic. I feel like the purple needs to be somewhere else on the model though. It's like he's got a Nerf gun, you know? It's a part of his body, kind of. It seems like it's fused into his flesh. And so I kind of want to see that same hue somewhere else. Like maybe you could paint the spikes on his back, even though they do flow perfectly into his armor. You could just paint it as though they're not. You could paint them purple as well. Or it could be almost anything, but I think the purple needs to be, maybe it's like the hooves and the claws on his feet, maybe? Okay. But I think it needs to be somewhere else. Are you going to put the red on the gun as well? Okay. You got this. This is in the bag. This half, we got this, dude. Matt is carrying us right now. What? Oh, right. Do you guys need anything?
Do you need anything? Maybe something for the base, because you're going to have to do that at the end. Anyone?
Yeah, we got tufts. Anyone got tufts? Or any kind of basing? We got
pigment powders.
Tough for my half. Danny, you cannot use these tufts.
No!
Yes.
We need John's side. Tufts, pigment powders. Grab a handful of sand from outside.
That's a hot take.
Yeah, run to the beach. All right, so Danny did a great job on my wonderful advice after the first 30 minutes. So we're pushing more into a weird, this kind of is a human skin tone situation with the skin on the Tyranid, which is great. And then seeing that maroon to purple shadow has so much depth on that skin to be sickly. And then Danny decided to push to an interesting saturated blue, keep it darker on the carapace. So we have then a bit of a play of the only cold color that's going to be on the final piece is the blue, really fine line, great brush control, just touching the tip of the brush to create thin lines across the carapace. Where I think Danny needs to go in the last 30 minutes is to just see how far that we can push an extra level of highlights. Because most of us, when we think a thing is highlighted enough, it's bright enough, we're actually 1 or 2 steps of highlights below what we should be at. And that is the question in the speed paint of 90 minutes of how much you can push it with the time restriction. So I'm curious to see which of those two will be able to push that last 10% in 30 minutes. I think that's going to determine our winner. No pressure. I have to pee.
Dude, name a more classic thing than John leaving to pee in the middle of TUP Live. And then I have to awkwardly hold it down by talking about like volleyball and like whatever else. All right. Are we starting the next 30-minute segment? We are. Okay. You ready to go? All right. Hit that button right now. Last 30-minute segment. Let's go. You guys got this. They both look really good, guys. It's amazing. Oh, you need the model to paint it, don't you? Oh, whoa. 10 seconds on the clock. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. All right, cool. Okay, so for the last 30-minute segment of our show, we're going to answer some questions about TUP Live, about our individual YouTube channels, about anything you guys have in a similar way up here on the side with a microphone. We also can field questions about just miniature painting in general, about art, all kinds of stuff like that. But we'd love to have a guest with us. Benjamin, could you come and join me? Is that cool? All right, Benjamin, award-winning painter, amazing painter. Thanks, man. Right in the middle. Thank you.
Tandy Nation.
Tandy Nation.
This podcast has been taken over by military coup. This is a.
What do you mean, your military coup? Hold on, explain this.
It's a People's Revolution, Scott.
It is?
You lost John. You're about to get edged out.
Oh, no. Am I?
No, I think you're fine.
Okay. All right. I guess if you have a hot take, you could also say that too. But yeah, do questions, whatever works.
My name is Brock. This is my first Adepticon here. I did have come up here with a hot take, but I can rephrase it as a question.
Okay.
So hot take was going to be, I think, in non-metallic metals and OSL are extremely overrated, and traditional. But what might get me yelled at is that I think traditional GW styling is 10 times more impressive than non-metallic metals and OSLs. But if you agree with the first statement of non-metallic metals and OSLs being traps or just not as impressive as they should be, what techniques do you think newer painters should focus on getting better at instead of those techniques?
A newer painter?
Yes.
Okay, so the take, did you miss some of it?
Is that TMM is better?
No. Well, kind of, but the take is that OSL and NMM are overrated.
Oh, yeah.
And that traditional GW stylings of metal is better. And then the question is, what should a beginner painter focus on improving at, if not those things? I feel like you're itching right now.
I'm glad I'm here for this. Here's the thing. I'm not sure who's doing the ratings. In terms of you use a keyword here, which is overrated. I don't know who's doing these ratings because much like, political consumption of content, we also completely have totally different worlds of consumption of content, I think, for miniature painting. If you just watch a certain type of GW kind of videos, or you have certain YouTubers that you watch that paint in that style, then you're probably not going to hear anything about OSL or NMM. If you watch other people's videos, I don't know that I've painted a piece in 10 years that doesn't have OSL. So if you listen to me or talk to me, I'm only going to be talking about that. So maybe you're watching the wrong content.
I mean, the crowd kind of agreed though, so there is some consensus.
Don't back down, Scott.
Well, I feel like I disagree. I feel like NMM and OSL get a bad rap because they're really challenging to do well, especially together. And so they can often look kind of awkward and bad. But I think the truth for me about OSL and NMM is they exhibit understanding of many different aspects of our hobby coming together in one thing. And so it's really hard to execute them perfectly. You've been doing OSL on so many models and learning about it every single time, I imagine, and it changes every single time, and there are new things and it becomes more nuanced and stuff. So I think it's just really, really, really hard. I don't think it's overrated. I think people like to do challenging things and they want to challenge themselves and they fall short and it looks awkward sometimes, and that's okay.
I have a thought, and I want to hear Ben's take on this. I think the problem is we utilize those terms in a silo. That OSL is this silo, or it is a bucket that I can choose to open, and NMM is a bucket I can choose to open. It's open or close, when in reality, all we're doing is understanding volumes and light. OSL and NMM aren't really a thing. It's just understanding volumes, light, and surface.
I like 2/3 agree with that. I think basically, when you paint a miniature, by definition, you are making a choice to you're making a choice about how to render a volume.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go back to the 1980s and you have that old school Games Workshop formula, your choice to how to render that volume is simply that deeper is darker, and higher is brighter, which obviously makes no sense in reality, but at least allows you to see the volume on the miniature and not have it just be like unreadable. It's just, it looks like a toy, but okay. So I think if you are, doing something like zenithally, you're basically punting the decision. You're basically saying, I'm not going to really make I'm not really going to consider where the light is coming from. It's just generally like, you could say you're considering coming from above, but you're not really thinking about it in a critical way. You're just kind of like, just saying, oh, well, this is just what we're doing. This is very generic, like broad decision, right? Whereas I think OSL is a subset of atmospheric, which means now we're going to start to consider the direction of the light. Because the thing is, you can do OSL within like the context of zenithal, which means I'm going to make a very specific decision about where this one light is being emitted, not the other light.
Right.
Whereas that all lives under the umbrella of quote unquote atmospheric, which is like we're going to take everything. There's going to be no volume considered that isn't interpreted through the lens of what lights are hitting. So it's like a spectrum. A very long-winded way of saying it's a spectrum.
Okay.
If you've never taken a class from Ben, it sounds like that.
I can
Ben has a
confirm this.
professional background of dealing with light and color on his day-to-day working environment.
Yeah.
So his knowledge and the way he looks at it, it's just far beyond my monkey brain.
I love it though. I always want answers like that for those questions. So I love that kind of info. So the other question that he had was, if not focus on those things for a beginner, what do you focus on? And if we're talking about beginners only, and you guys listen to the podcast, I think you might know my answer to this question, but I think it's layering. I think layering is an incredible technique that I think should be focused on before most traditionally understood blending methods, wet blending, glazing, all those things, feathering, whatever. If you can accurately light a model in a scene with layering, then you can do everything, in my opinion.
What do you think, Ben?
Well, okay. I think that, and I don't think that anybody's technique for how they render volume is relevant to their understanding of the volume. If you understand what the volume is and how it's like, regardless of what I was talking about before, regardless of your system for interpreting how to render that volume, if you basically have a grasp on that system and you understand what the volume is and how it's reacting to whatever lighting system you're saying, it doesn't matter if you layer it, if you wet blend it, or like whatever kind of painting technique you want to use, it doesn't matter. It's just, it has to do with, does your brain work or not does your technique work.
Very binary, okay?
Well, all right, Ben's segue is we all suck. I guess my answer is not actually at its core probably much different than yours, is that I would rather you spend time every time you're painting any part of your model to be focusing on what is the basic shape and how does light work over that shape to showcase its three-dimensional volumes. If you get an understanding of how lighting works on shapes and you try to practice that over and over again, I think that will take you far no matter what way you decide to go in your painting journey, whether that is to just paint armies, whether that is you want to paint for Golden Demon, whether it is you want to one day really push on lighting. All of that has the foundation of a basic understanding of how to paint volumes.
That's so much more diplomatic than what I said.
Yes.
To defend myself a little bit, I feel like in order to learn how to render a volume, the best way to do it is with layering because it's very step-based, very procedural, whereas with other methods, you are trying to think about those steps at the same time while also applying a complicated technique of live blending on a model or dealing with super diluted paint that causes tide marks or dries fast. And so it's like when you can just remove those variables and just focus on the bones of what a blend will look like with layering, it simplifies it and it makes it easier to understand.
So you're saying you're taking away the complications of execution of technique to focus on other things.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, I tend to think that's a really good take.
I think there's pros and cons to that though, because for me, the big con of layering is that if I'm going to tilt this down. Okay. If I am layering and I get maybe several layers in and I realize that the shape or something that I am rendering the volume is incorrect, I am disincentivized from starting over because I've already invested all this time in layering.
Okay.
So
I think the same thing is true of wet blending. You get to a certain point, you're like, oh shoot, the highlight's too small. What am I going to do now?
I just wet blend over it.
Okay. You still have to like redo your process. And when someone's learning wet blending, it could be a really challenging process to get to that finished result in the first place. Do you think they want to just start over?
Same thing. I think that if you are, and I'm not saying that wet blending doesn't have cons, but if you are wet blending, I think that because you are used to just putting a bunch of paint down and kind of creating a like volume with a transition, I think it's way less scary to be just like, I'm going to put down a completely new thing over this thing to kind of push it in the direction that I want, versus like you're, both the strength and the weakness of layering is it's procedural. And when you have a procedure and you have taken so many steps and you realize that those were totally the wrong steps, like there's no like kind of adjusting it in the right direction. You kind of have to start over.
You are in favor of adjusting live on a model. You don't let things lie and take those lessons forward to the next model, right?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's keep moving. But I do want to say, when I was taking a pee, somebody joined me in the urinal next to me, that fine gentleman right there, and he let me know that somebody on the winter squad brought good paintbrushes up for Danny. So we got the primo brushes.
Okay, nice.
Thank you for that, sir.
All right.
All right, next question.
I'm Sumi, and I wanted to ask, when you're army painting, if, for instance, if you spend an hour on each model, if you spend the first 30 minutes doing like very basic, just base coats, highlights, and shadows, would you spend the next 30 minutes just like pumping everything up and making like really contrast, or would you spend it on like making the model unique and doing a freehand, or a third option of your own choosing?
Okay.
So if you're spending an hour on a model, in the first 30 minutes are just defining the colors.
Yeah.
What's the best use of the final 30 minutes?
Yeah.
That's the question?
Yep.
Ben?
So, context. No, I do have an answer. Context is I do not paint armies. I paint about 2 pieces a year total. But if I did paint armies.
You paint your wartime stuff, though, too.
I've painted 5 guys in 10 years.
Well.
But if I were to paint a army, I can tell you that I would basically be focusing on like at least 50% of my attention on this.
Head and shoulders?
Or just basically, I think what it is, and again, this is coming from someone who doesn't actually paint armies, but I would want each model to have a focal point that like, if I am looking at it on the table, that like, this is where I want people to look. And then it's kind of like, I don't want them looking at the boot. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's probably, for most guys, I mean, it depends on like what it is, but like, I want to choose a focal point and I want to spend 50% or more of my time refining the focal point so that it has the most detail, like the most contrast, the most value, like whatever it is that your system you're using to choose where, like whether it's saturation or value or whatever, I want to detail, I want to dial in that and not completely ignore, but like do the bare minimum on everything else.
I agree. I think also GW got something right. I think a lot of things right, but one thing they got right with the painting method they apply on their models is edge highlighting. I don't think you need to paint as crisply as they do with their edge highlighting, but edge highlighting is such a cheat code to give a part of the model some love without needing to develop like a transition of colors on it. You know, it can be painted with a base coat and then washed, and then you could take a slightly brighter color and just hit the edges to help that thing render as the shape it is, you know? And then you put more effort and love into the chest, you want, you know, maybe a gradation there on the shoulders, on the cape at the very back, but everything else can just get little tiny edge highlights to help the rendering of the whole thing. I think that's what I spend my time on.
I like that. Yeah, good answer.
Okay, cool. Question.
Hello, I am Leo Dubois, and my question is, would you rather forget everything you know about color theory, art, volumes, etc., or every time you go to paint a miniature, your body gets transformed into a 6-year-old version of yourself, and you have all the fine motor skill that comes with that?
Do I get to relearn the color theory and art knowledge eventually?
Well,
I choose death.
Okay. I feel like the assumption is that you don't get to relearn the color theory because you are always becoming a 6-year-old whenever, or whatever, a baby, or whatever it was, when you start painting, right?
Right.
You're not going to grow up, you know.
Actually, Ben and Vince already do this because they paint with the vulture's claw, so they have no brush control.
Very limited dexterity.
If you would paint like you're supposed to, you'd have so much more brush control. So they already understand light and volume and understand the theory super, super well, but they do already hamstring themselves. So I guess Ben's answer is already.
Sorry, let me give you some education about the claw. So, the issue.
Got some claw appreciators.
I think so. Here's the thing about the claw, and if you don't know what the claw is, it's basically a way of holding the brush. When you do the claw, you're not actually using any of the muscles in your hand to grip the brush. I can be in claw mode, and my hand is completely relaxed. And where that starts to become relevant is, hour 3, 4, 5, 10, 12 of painting. If you are actively using the muscles in your fingers to grip the brush, there's a fatigue element there, and that's not good. That's carpal tunnel, baby. So
okay. Wait, so are you like, what does the articulation of the brush?
His thumb wraps around it.
That's a wrist.
It's a wrist.
Yes.
Don't you feel like you have more dexterity in your fingertips than you do your wrist, than you do in your elbow, than you do in your shoulder, than you do in imagine painting only with waist movement, right? That's a fucking YouTube video right there if I ever heard it. Holy shit,
That's a great YouTube video.
Holy shit.
I think, so here's actually, I should be more specific. There's a little bit from the wrist, but then there's also a little bit from the knuckle. Okay. What it's not is from the fingertips.
I feel like you have the most control right here.
Yes.
Right here.
The phalanges, baby.
We were having a lunch one time with the Harder and Steenbeck CEO, and he gave us this example of how people who fly jets control the joystick right between their legs with their 10 fingertips, or maybe less, but it's only fingertips because you can really control micro movements with those joints the most. So I feel like, I don't know, but maybe.
What you're saying is coming with, though, the assumption that a finer control of micro movement actually is relevant to the result, which I actually don't know if that's true.
Why wouldn't it be on miniature painting?
I think in general, I think if we're talking about something like very, very super specific, like putting a dot in the middle of an eye, then maybe, but I don't know. I mean, it just also depends on the way you paint. Like the way I paint, I'm doing relatively large brush strokes, and I'm more interested in where does the brush start and where does it get pulled to, rather than this idea that everything has to be a tiny little razor hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not everything does, but it's more than just eyes. It's purity seals. It's text on purity seals. It's small little lines of fur you're putting on your cloak to add texture to it. There's so many times when having a fine degree of control when you're painting small things, that's not just eyes.
I do think, though, but I think brush control is more than, I think it's a little reductive to say that brush control is just about how precise your little micro movements are. Half brush control is just using the right part of the brush in
right.
the right direction and the right movement.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I don't know. I think that we're looking at a small little variable and pretending it's everything when it's just not even that big of a deal.
Okay.
And don't fatigue your hands.
Good job, guys, for sidestepping this question entirely.
You gave us the 15-minute warning, right? Okay, all right. Thank you, Ben, for coming up.
Tenny Nation, let's go.
Tenny Nation! Who should we have for our fourth guest? Should we have Vince again?
All right, Vince 2, Electric Boogaloo. Get up here, Vince.
All right, while he comes up here, let us know what your question is.
We're going to end with all hot takes from Vince. He's going to see your hot takes, and he's going to hot take your hot take.
Hello, my name is Scott.
Hey!
My question is, do you think that there's a level of results-based analysis that causes newer painters to plateau as they try to push into more advanced techniques?
A level of results-based analysis that prevents people from pushing into new techniques. They're too focused on analyzing their current paint jobs, and that prevents them from expanding their skill set, getting better.
So I think the better way to describe it is they look back at their results and they see that they're making little to no improvement, and so they decide that it's better to not focus on this technique because it might be too difficult or something, and they don't want to push themselves to improve on something that might make them a better painter overall, or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Was that a hot take, or was there also a question?
It was a hot take that I tried to reword into a question.
Okay. I appreciate you. What is going on over here, dude? This guy is disqualified, okay? Officially. He's 3 fireballs deep, man. You can't control this man. God, John, yeah.
I think that's a great question, by the way. I like this question.
How did you interpret the question?
So, I mean, I think that the question is like, why do so many newer painters run into plateaus? That's ultimately what he's asking, right? And I think there's a series of reasons we all probably have gone up against in our life. Like, one of the biggest challenges you have when you're trying to learn is you got your known unknowns, you got your unknown unknowns. Okay.
Shout out GW Bush.
So, like, that was wrong spelled. But anyways,
was that the writer?
No, he goes back to Richard Nixon.
Okay.
Political history. Anyways, there's only
wow. Okay.
all the same 10 people worked in politics for 40 years. Anyways,
Yeah.
my point is you don't know exactly what good looks like, right? That's one of the biggest problems. What I remember is like saying, well, I want to push myself really hard. That's why this myth of just like, oh, you just put more work and put more work and put more time in, I've always found to be crap.
Yeah.
Because like you have to actually know what you're aiming for, right? That's like saying, well, if you just wander out in the woods and as long as you keep walking, you'll get to California. Well, no, not if you go in the wrong direction or didn't bring enough water or a million other things, right? No, you just probably just die alone in the woods because you don't know where you're going. So I think one of the big problems is, you have to actually build the experience to actually understand where you're aiming. I think the other thing is when you know that you have that much you don't know, okay? Then the other problem is you try to improve all of it at once. Yeah. And that's overwhelming, and then you get like really burnt out. Those would be my takes. You're better off focusing on the one thing and doing deliberate practice. One thing you know you can improve.
What's the hobby equivalent of dying alone in the woods?
Speed paint.
It's happening on this stage right now. No, yeah, I mean, it's just like giving up, right? It's saying like, I can't be better. I'm not capable of being better. I've heard a lot of people in my time of teaching for many years, because I'm an old dying man,
you're on the sunset as well.
I'm on the backside as well, yeah, for sure.
Oh my God, I forgot that.
The backside of my life. I've heard a lot of people say like, I could never do that. I could never get better. I'm just kind of where I am. And I'm like, well, no, like I suck. I'm not a good artist. I don't have any unique skills. I didn't learn art anywhere. I just kept focusing on little individual things until I had enough individual knowledge to put it together.
Yeah. Do you guys feel like you need to improve at everything you do? Or, I don't need to get better at like snow blowing the driveway, but like,
sure.
Is there, what do you think about some level of contentment in where you are and not improving and just existing at that level?
I think you always, I mean, you're talking about, do you think Uncle Adam is a valid existing human in the world?
Holy shit, I am.
Like, I'm not trying to be mean. It's just like, that's exactly his outlook, right?
Yes,
It's like, he's like, I'm not looking to become, to improve in some great way. He doesn't want to be a competition painter. He wants to happily paint his figures and achieve what he wants to achieve. Mm-hmm. I think even he would tell you, though, that he has, perhaps against his will and perhaps accidentally, gotten better.
Yes.
You just learn more, right? So I think it's always going to happen. But I think it's okay to just be like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm on this adventure. If it's just like fun and unwinding for you, yeah, go for it.
Okay. All right, next question. I know you. You've been here before.
Oh, thanks, Vince. Hi, my name's Cole.
Hi.
I was a little triggered by one of the hot takes earlier. Actually, recipes are pretty bad and actually stunt your growth quite a bit.
Whoa.
Oh, and they also stunt your fun, too.
Okay.
Now, as far as my question goes, I will not elaborate. My question is, would you rather paint a Games Workshop Space Marine with a size 0 brush or a size 7?
Can I say
Paint a
neither?
Space
Can I
Marine
say
size
neither?
0 or size 7? Every coat of paint with just that one brush?
I mean, a size 0 is not even that small.
Size 0 is fine. Yeah, are we starting from black? Are we starting from like
let's
a
make it
Zenithal?
let's
What's
make
the
it
ground rules
spicier.
here?
Let's make it. Can we call it a 000 or a size 7?
Oh, now we're talking about.
Because I feel like
Yes.
a
Oh, am I
zero.
starting from black? Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. Because I feel like I paint with a 0 like most of the time, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I use a 0 a lot. And the easy answer there would be a size 7 because you can actually paint. 000 brushes are completely worthless.
I would choose 000 and I'd make it a black Templar.
Hey. I feel like I'd pick the 7 because if it's a good brush, it's going to have a sharp tip anyways.
Yeah.
And you can do the details like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you had like a Winsor & Newton size 7, it's actually got a really sharp tip. It's just got a huge belly.
Yeah, you just got to use that last like 2% of the brush. And you're good.
And it costs $1,400.
yeah. That too. But he's buying them, so it's okay.
All right. He said he's going to buy us all brushes. So thanks, man.
What's up?
Hi guys, my name's Chris, and I have a hot take that may or may not be so hot for this particular room.
Okay.
But if you consider the wargaming community as a whole, it may ruffle some feathers. I don't think that unpainted miniatures should hit the tabletop.
Ooh.
You don't think unpainted miniatures should be on the tabletop? That was the hot take. Just want to make sure I'm clear.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Not in a game.
Yeah. I disagree.
Well, you have to disagree or you'd never play any games.
Call an ambulance.
Thank you very much, everybody. This is my podcast now.
Vince is the captain now.
That's right. Look at me. Look at me. No, I mean, look, I definitely disagree with that.
I just cried back there a little bit.
I actually agree with Scott completely. Like, it depends on what you're talking about. If you're going to a tournament like this at Adepticon, then yeah, everything should be painted, of course, right? You're going into a big public event, stuff like that. You should try to do it for your local game store, but hey, if it's your local game store and you can't get everything painted, I think that's cool, right? That's fine, especially if you're playing with friends. As long as if the person shows up that I play with and every week they've got like another model painted or another unit painted or something like that, I'm like, hey.
If they never have another model painted, are you not going to play with them?
No, I still would.
Okay.
I'd still have fun with them, right? Because that's the thing. But like in your basement, I play all the time with unpainted miniatures. I have to test things. I have to test new armies. Like, I mean, given I'm doing it for like a show and stuff, but I literally can't paint fast enough to have a whole army done by the time that book comes out, right? So I think it's about just the context to me.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like if you're 2 minutes, okay.
2 minutes.
So you have 2 more minutes,
2
and then
minutes.
this whole thing is done. Paint that base rim black.
This is it.
Don't forget that.
Oh yeah, black base rim.
I feel like if you're excited to play a game and you don't have painted models, that should not stop you from playing that game. Like,
right.
That's just it.
That being said, try to paint your models. It's a better experience for everyone.
Yeah.
It's fun for you.
Yeah. And also the excitement of playing the game can also help to motivate you to paint the models as well.
Totally.
So yeah, it should be a little bit of a positive feedback.
I respect the hot take though.
I do. I respect it.
that.
Yeah.
Can we do something for the next question? Hi, you look very nice. You look like a great guy.
You don't look that nice.
I want to skip you and you and you and you. I want this little girl here to come up with her question.
And we will get the rest of you because we will have more time, but we want to
Yeah.
make sure Vince gets the prime question.
Hi, I'm Isley. If you could go back to your 11-year-old self, what would you tell yourself?
Oh my God. From the minds of a child, the best question. All right. From your 11-year-old self, what would you tell him? Oh shit. You're not going to be this. I would tell my 11-year-old self, one, you're not going to be this fat forever. Don't worry, it's fine. Okay, that's number one. That was a real concern for me at that age.
Dude. Oh, that's clap for Vince, dude. Not an easy thing.
Not fishing. No, I think that's such a wonderful question. Like, what I would tell my 11-year-old self is not to get so hung up that I have to accomplish something by a certain time. When I was young, I always felt like if I didn't get something done, if I didn't accomplish this by the time I was 16 or 18 or 21 or something like that, that I was never going to get there. And what I've learned in the interim period is that, like, yeah, I've missed a bunch of deadlines in my life, but some of the coolest stuff I've done has been in my 30s or 40s or so on.
6,
5, 4, 3, 2,
1. Woo! We're gonna answer more of that question
Yeah.
after this. Okay, so now we take some photos of these models. We're gonna post them on the TUP Facebook group, and we're gonna do a little vote by emoji kind of thing. So I think that's how we did it last time. We'll just do it the same way this time. So we'll do like a laughing face for me and a heart for you.
Okay.
How about that?
Yeah. And make sure you put the instructions in the post.
Yes.
Just so if anyone isn't here and they pull it up at home, they can still get to vote.
Okay.
But we're only going to have it open for 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, for this
Something like
last
that.
portion of the podcast.
And
Okay.
then,
So I'll go take some pictures, or if you want to take them under those hobby lamps.
I trust you. You're the picture guy.
Okay, he shouldn't trust me.
Yeah.
Oh wait, yeah, that's true. I think part of the thing was the mystery of it, wasn't it? Yeah, kind of fucked that up, didn't we? Pretend like you don't know.
First of all, both of these are freaking crazy.
Yeah, I mean, this is the
90
first time I'm seeing them up close. You two absolutely killed it. Like, we need a round of applause for these two. This is amazing work. Very good.
All right. Well, let Scott take the pictures, and while he does, then we can talk more about what we were going to tell our 11-year-old selves.
Yeah.
Is this about just the hobby?
I was taking it more broadly.
Yeah,
but
you were just given.
I really
sage
do
life
think
advice.
that, like, I would have told myself that it's okay to not achieve something by some arbitrary date you set in your head. Life is long, and there's lots you're going to learn, and you're going to discover a lot of things along the way that you didn't even know you wanted to learn. You'll accomplish amazing, incredible, fun things, and it'll be great the whole journey.
Yeah. That's a pretty good answer. Yeah. Yeah. Even if you're like Vince in the twilight, right?
Twilight years, yeah.
Yeah, you're in the beginning of the middle of the end.
That's
So
being shipped off to the home soon.
yeah, I guess the biggest thing that I would probably tell myself would be just enjoy it in the moment. I oftentimes would think that I would be like, well, I'm going to put all this work in. I'm going to sit through this misery so one day it'll be better. And instead of focusing on the one day, just enjoy it now, you know?
Oh, also buy Apple stock or something like that, probably. I mean, I guess. Like,
Right, yeah.
Then I could just not be doing this.
Yeah, Google, get a couple Bitcoin.
That's a great question.
Great question. We're going to keep the questions going while Scott takes pictures.
Next up. Yeah. Go ahead.
We'll make sure we get to Josh.
My name's Andrew. My question is, why are all the products that are marketed toward hobbyists bullshit when direct analogs exist in every other market, like Gunpla, scale modeling, photography, watercolors, etc.?
Why do we overpay for every product we buy?
This is called the free market system. And this is how this works in every aspect of life, but this is how we've experienced it. Because most of us too, even if we've not been in this hobby very long, we have seen this. It's relatively new for this hobby, where we've gotten the pay the middleman for it's made for you, but it exists elsewhere. But in some point in history, in variable markets, it always happens. So the good thing is that at some point, they look to innovate instead of just repackage. And that's the good thing. It's finding the fun moments where you can actually like get a great deal where they're not yet innovating. They're just trying to bamboozle you out of your dollars.
Yeah, and I would say there's probably a line there to some degree. Like, there are some hobby things that are uniquely made by hobbyists for hobby people, and those are generally pretty awesome. And then, like, there are probably a few and far between, but there are specific things that come to mind. Whereas a lot of stuff, like, yeah, you overpay for, like, the generic hobby X-Acto blades, when you could go buy medical size 11s in a box of 100 for $11 from any, supply store, right? So the key is to just look at the product that's on offer and say, does a generic version of this exist? And then, always go just buy the generic, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We call that the Costco strategy.
The old Kirkland special.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes like you'd be like, well, remember when we just all used whatever hobby light or whatever light you could find? And there is sometimes we get a good thing, or we get like the new Redgrass Games Light, the Lucent Light by Game Envy, where they actually, the pricing is pretty similar to those other options, but they just have a higher CRI and maybe more flexibility for the angles of which we paint. So sometimes we get the good things. Oftentimes, though, you're right. It's, especially if it's in the art world, I really like to just go to, if you have a local Blick store or Jackson Art store or whatever, just, I'm gonna spend an hour here today and like walk through things, aisles, and look at it from the lens of my hobby and pay half the price sometimes.
Can you post them on Facebook?
Okay.
I took the photos and cropped them and made them look nice, but I don't have Facebook on my phone.
Scott is a Zoomer, and he's too busy TikToking and Snapchatting to have Facebook for us old people.
No, I got rid of all the apps on my phone because they make me sad.
Oh, that's a good, actually, that's very healthy. I take back all the things I just said. And instead, I want to congratulate you for being mentally healthy. That's
Okay.
wonderful.
Oh, I don't know about that, but we're getting there.
While he's doing that, who's next?
Who's next?
Hi, I'm Connor, and my hot take is painting a miniature in the lore-accurate colors is boring.
I mean, unless the lore has an interesting color scheme, right?
Okay, so look.
Settle in, everybody. Here's my hero.
How can you be so right? Okay. No, look, I mean, there's something fun about trying to replicate a particular color scheme, right? And when you do that once and you like look in a book and you say, okay, this is the color plate or the thing, how well can I render this particular thing? How well can I paint my perfect Blood Angel, my perfect Ultramarine, my perfect whatever? And then it's boring from that time forever on. And this is why I don't want to paint like this. I don't paint MCP or anything like that. No offense. Hi, if Dallas is hiding or watches this in the future, I love you, Dallas. You're an awesome guy. But like, I'm not interested in painting Wolverine as Wolverine has appeared in the comics for a million freaking times. Like, it's just not interesting to me.
Then don't do that.
That's what I'm saying. It's boring. I agree. Make your, like, being able to take the miniature, which is already giving us halfway of the thing, right? We don't start from a blank canvas.
You said the reason I don't play MCP.
No, I said the reason I don't paint.
Oh, okay.
Paint.
My bad.
Yes. The reason I don't paint MCP is because of that.
Wait, just paint it differently then.
And then it's not Wolverine. You look at it and you go, that's Wolverine. I'm supposed to paint him like Wolverine. It's a one-dimensional thing. He can be brown and yellow or yellow and blue. Those are your choices.
Come on.
If alternative future what ifs. Look, this isn't a Wolverine discussion, but if you want to check out my alternate podcast, Wolverine Talk.
They can be all sorts of colors. You just play Marvel versus Capcom, and you can see the
exactly.
5 different
Switch
colors
the
of
skins.
Venom.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's kind of boring to just stick to the regular scheme.
Yeah, of course. But I feel like creativity can be bred in limitation, and you can start with a lore accurate color scheme and then kind of have a little fun with it. Use different funky shadow colors, use funky highlight colors, and kind of learn from there. Like you were saying earlier, when you want to learn something, you need to hone the vision. And if you go from painting lore accurate stuff to, I'm going to come up with my whole own scheme, that's like a lot to think about all up front. So instead, how do I make that Dark Angel scheme look a little bit more funky? Maybe that's an easier way to approach it.
I think that's great. I remember I put a piece in Golden Demon once long ago and then was told that that's not right because that particular color doesn't go in that particular marine.
So GW answered this question already.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They think he's wrong. Okay.
The post is live on the Trapped Under Plastic Facebook group. Yeah, can you just give me 15 minutes?
Well, you guys can just all go.
Doesn't need to be exact.
And then we'll ask if you're done yet. And
now pull out your phones, go to the Trapped Under Plastic Facebook group, and please set your vote.
Please go to www.
What?
Yeah. The quality of these two are crazy.
I know, right?
Hour and 30 minutes.
Maybe both beat me in 90 minutes.
That's what I said, bro. I couldn't do that in 90 minutes.
Should you two be up here?
Yeah.
Do we need to switch?
Yeah, they brought a Tyranid model and just swapped it in. That'd be amazing. I love that. All right, next question. Or whatever you want to say, you know? You can come up here and do some like pig squeals for all I care.
Next person, yeah.
Hi, I'm William, longtime listener, second time caller.
Hey.
Do you want my hot take or do you want my question?
Yes.
Okay, hot take. If it takes more than a couple seconds to change colors and 5 minutes to deep clean the airbrush, you're doing it wrong.
Okay.
For my question, this is going to be the whole audience too. And I want everyone to raise your left hand if you are an experienced painter or professional. So you want something, you feel like you can do non-metallic metal, that sort of thing. Right hand if you can't, just easy. Everyone close your eyes and try and picture a banana.
A banana?
A
We're supposed
banana.
to close our eyes and picture a banana.
Just a regular banana.
Okay.
Is this going to turn into like a weird like aerobics thing?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, so just take 5 seconds, try and picture a banana. All right, we good?
I've done it. I'm so good at this.
Okay, so for everyone that has professional experience painting, if you have a hyper-realistic or, fairly realistic image of a banana in your head, raise your hand.
So if you are an experienced painter and you imagined a realistic banana, raise your hand.
Yeah. I knew it. All right, so everyone that is not experienced, you're amateur intermediate painter and you can have a hyper-realistic or realistic image of banana in your head, raise your hand.
What did you imagine?
I hate all of you.
Like a candy?
Yeah. So
cartoon, like an emoji or something? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so anyone else, left or right hand, raise your hand if you can't picture an image of banana in your head or it's kind of murky. That's what I thought.
Okay. All right. So that was a very long interview with the crowd. I just want to shout that out.
What are we indicating here?
People's ability to picture things in their inner eye is like highly varied.
There's a thing called aphantasia and hyperphantasia.
Oh, I know about
hyperphantasia.
this. Yes.
And I've asked Marco, I asked Orkbutt, I've asked a couple people. I can't picture a single thing in my head. I found that out last year that I'm supposed to picture things, and that's why I get a lot of painter's block. And I figured there'd be like an 80% chance, and there was a lot more people than I was expecting that can actually picture stuff versus not.
Okay. So you wanted to come up here to see if you were alone in that or with people?
I was trying to see if it was, are you a good painter because you can picture things really well, like Marco can? Or is that just kind of like, professional athletes? They're really good because they've got genetics for it. Or is it, they've just trained really hard for that versus you got to train harder if you don't have that sort of skill.
Okay.
Can I jujitsu this? So
where'd he go? He jujitsu'd out of here, dude.
He's going to pee again, probably. Don't worry, I got you. I got a tough bladder. I'm ready.
Okay.
Put me in, coach.
You're in, dude.
Look,
I'm gonna sit someone
This is
out.
a really good thing. This everybody does have different abilities to picture things in their head, but ultimately, let me say this: if I can conjure the images of both a realistic banana and a cartoon banana and see them pretty clearly, and the bruises and the green section near the stem and how the stem is actually there and it's got a texture near the top and all that's in my mind. If I was going to paint a banana, I would bring up an image of a banana and look at it. I would not work off what's in my head. Okay? No matter what. And that's actually the thing. That's why I said I want to jujitsu this. Because the number one thing you should be doing if you're trying to paint anything that exists in the world is looking at it in the world. When I try to render the glow of a fire or what a fish looks like or, how a tree's leaves look or whatever, I just Google images of that stuff and stare at it for 10 or 20 minutes, looking at the nuance and the detail and the variance. Because no matter how good you are at picturing it in your head, you're missing things. And the real world is always your best instructor. So, use that.
Whenever I picture people in my head, they're always Muppets.
Well, I think you're very special, Kenneth. Pardon me. Okay. Very good.
All right, next up, we have Josh, a.k.a. Orkbutt. If you don't know Orkbutt, you're in the presence of greatness here. One of the best, if not the best painter of greenskins to ever live.
Check him out on Instagram.
Well, everybody knows me already, so so I have a hot take. Hot take is fine artist pigment paint, like high quality pigment paints, like golden paints, for example, outperform all of our hobby paints.
Okay.
Do high quality artist paints outperform all hobby paints? Which who?
Golden?
Golden specifically? Okay, very good.
Okay, we can probably narrow it down to golden Soulflax. I feel like tube paints introduce a different variable that makes it hard to compare.
I mean,
for me, it does.
You're saying because heavy bodies require additional interesting art.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, you could say the golden line in general is a really fantastic line, and I agree. And look, he's not wrong in that, I don't know, artists all around the world don't buy hobby paints. They buy they buy like artist grade general paints, right? So whether it be Golden or Liquitex or Schminky or whatever, right? So my answer is, I don't think there's anything you can specifically achieve with hobby paints that you can't achieve with those paints. But I think, and so in some cases, I think there are things you will achieve with the artist paints. You won't go the other way around. I'll give you a very specific example, like the Golden High Flow Fluorescents, I think are simply like the best of that breed.
Absolutely.
Around.
What are we talking about?
So, but in the end, I think that what hobby paints bring to the table is just like there's a bunch of colors and they're fun and it's cool. And it's like, I don't know, man, I want to make this like kind of mint green that's got a little bit of gray in it, but it's also kind of brown. And oh, look, it's that bottle. And like, that's just hard to mix for a lot of people on their own. Like they could do it, but you know, not everybody's got your genius. That's what it comes down to. So we got to allow for some hobby paints here, you know, to help us like rudimentary kids out that ate the paint instead of painting with it.
I do think that if you buy one tub of Golden So Flat as your bridge to kind of see what Josh is talking about, it is a good middle gap to show you what is the potential, because it acts closer to the miniature paints we buy, but you will see a difference in how well it covers. And when you break it down with water and more water, it doesn't separate. It can do everything.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. The best fluorescence.
Best fluorescence.
I want to agree for specialist things like fluorescence and stuff like that, but I feel like artist grade paints would only ever win out against hobby paints if you're putting things on a chart, you're really breaking stuff down, you're really trying to quantify it and measure it. But if you're just painting models, and I was doing it like blind and the paints were close in hue, I don't think I could really tell.
No, exactly. I think it'd be pretty indistinguishable. Yeah. I think it's pretty one-to-one.
Yeah, but for like the fluos, I agree.
I mean, you'll save a lot of money buying most of that artist grade stuff. Even though it's expensive, you're getting quantities that are like, just in case you need to, have a barrel of it out back of your house as opposed to whatever. So.
What do we got?
I'm Derek. You guys do kind of know me. I do have TUP stickers, so if you didn't get one, come and see me at the end. I'm very easy to find. I have the Baby Yoda shirt on.
Nice.
Question for you guys.
Yes.
If you could replace any part in your body with a mechanical part, and it functions the way you want, what would it be, and how would it help your hobby?
Eyeballs. Eyeballs, because I could zoom that shit in. I could record from my eyeballs for YouTube videos. I could focus at I could increase that. Everything that I imagine a camera lens could do, my eyeballs could do. Eyeballs.
That's a really, honestly, I was going to give a different answer, but then you mentioned recording from your eyes for YouTube. Right? And I was like, oh my God, all my dreams.
Yes.
But no, I'm older than you, so let me give you the old man answer. Obviously, I'd go for the cyber spine and all of that, right? One, because I want to lift a car because it'd be cool, and two, because your back will hurt a lot when you get older. So take good care of it, kids.
So, it was we could be robots.
How part of your body are you cybernetic? Are you cyberneticing?
No, don't explain it to him. It's funnier this way.
Yeah, let me interpret. My memory, everything. I have like a 75 million terabyte SSD of all information of everything I would ever have experienced, so I can draw back and remember.
You want to matrix
every
this
tiny
shit?
detail.
Okay.
I have a shitty memory, and I feel like if I would remember the things that I had actually done, I'd learn way more because I forget most of the shit.
Okay. Nice. So cyber brain.
Yeah. Although, also I want to fly.
That was a fun question.
Jetpack.
Yeah.
Jump jets.
Oh yeah. I actually want RoboCop gun in my hip.
Yeah.
Change my answer. I want gun hip.
Gun hip.
Yeah.
Read funk.
My name's Vince, and my question is, what is your hobby white whale? So your kit, model, bust, project, whatever it is that you can't get or do yet because you're either scared to, it's exceedingly rare, or prohibitively expensive.
So a mini or a project of multiple minis. Okay.
Do you have this? Do you have anything that you've not been wanting to, that you haven't tackled because you thought, oh, I'm not there yet, or cost or anything like that?
Yeah, the Furiosa big rig for my orcs, for Mad Max orcs. I started looking in what that would take to accomplish, and I am going to do it before I die. and I will do a video on it. It's very overwhelming to me of how much work that's going to be. So yeah, the Furiosa big rig, but orcs.
I feel
It's gonna
like
be like the
you've
size of the
just
fucking
done
table.
everything you've ever wanted to do, right?
Kind of, yeah.
It's okay, I'll go. I feel like a serious Golden Demon entry. You know, I put some things in that I painted well, but they're not actual competitive entries. They don't have the fine detail brush that you come over with and make sure everything is ultra smooth and rendered beautifully, or whatever it is that's important for that competition. You know, the last thing I seriously competed in was Crystal Brush, and that's been dead and gone for a long time. So I think my white whale is just sitting down and taking competitive painting seriously and painting something super nice for, I think specifically Golden Demon. I want to say that because I did Monte Sansevino and those were nicely painted models, but it's a different thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the last model that I had really been holding out on because I didn't have a vision for what I wanted to do with it was a Montreal, which is the angel who's like this up in the air with like the metal crown. And I just painted her recently. So I'm done now. Thank you. Bye.
I'm done now.
How much time has it been on the voting? 13 minutes.
Okay, I think should we do these last questions? And
Yeah,
then-
we can do the last 3 questions. If you have not gone out and voted yet, please do.
Yes, on the Facebook group. Okay.
Hi, my name is Bear, and I have a hot take and sort of a question. Hot take is not every model needs to be a high definition thing, because especially if you're going to play it, 9 times out of 10, that's going to be off the field within 10 minutes.
Right. Okay, I agree.
And then my other question is, as someone that's coming up with early onset arthritis in my arm, like, what do you think are ways to help with painting as myself, where it's like I have spasms of like, you know, I'll be painting and then my whole wrist will just lock up while I'm mid-painting or whatever.
Okay. Do you paint with a wrist brace ever? Do you paint with a wrist brace ever?
I have tried, and it just honestly makes it worse and hard for me to paint.
You spend a lot of time on a computer. Do you like do that for a job?
No, actually, I do a very physical job where I'm lifting up to like 150-pound packages a day.
Is that maybe related?
Yeah, but it's just something where it's just like, you know, just trying to fall out in the field and everything, where it's like I've gotten help, but it's just like ways of trying to find other stuff to do, where it's just like, even myself, I just painted a Blood Bowl team in 3 days.
Okay.
And it's just like that entire time, like right afterwards, like I'm now feeling the after effect of that pain of like, even just now, just like my wrist spasming.
Okay. I feel like some wrist exercises could help that you do every single day, maybe before you paint, and develop some more range of motion in your wrist and more strength in your wrist. That could probably help a lot. But maybe also talking to a professional, like a physical therapist, might be a good idea as well. Like if it's like actually locking up, you know, that sounds like a thing that a doctor would know more than these 3 schmucks up here. But do you guys have any other ideas?
I do. So Dr. Vince is in the house. Don't worry, I'm here to help you. Put on the medical professional hat.
Yeah, you're a chiropractor. That don't count.
Oh, darn it. All right, never mind. No. Look, joking aside, I think this is a really very, very real thing that a lot of people have to deal with. Not everybody has the same capability for endurance or muscle control or all of that. A lot of people are very differently abled. And my answer is, don't feel like you have to paint in a certain way. So, you know, he mentioned that after painting in a certain way like this, he sort of experiences these challenges. As Ben mentioned, fellow claw haver. So you can try holding the brush in different ways. You can try using completely different techniques. Use something like an airbrush more, maybe use like oil paints with a bigger brush and something like that, where you can blend a lot smoother and achieve more and more quickly. Like there are maybe technique changes, process changes, things like that you can explore. There's no one right way to paint. So you could find one that's maybe a little easier on like wherever you're at. At the other, and to your hot take, completely agree, and that is correct. I judge a lot of very large army competitions. I judged 2 so far at Adepticon already. And I do not judge your regular troops the same way I judge the characters and monsters and things like that. I'm looking for more resolution and finer detail and all that kind of stuff on the big, the centerpiece, the important, than I am on like 80 freaking goblins. Like 100% correct.
Absolutely.
Okay. Rufus.
Hi, I'm Rufus. I'm a proud claw painter. I have a hypothetical for you. I want you to imagine that your relationship with the hobby is completely broken and dysfunctional, and tomorrow is your hard reset day. What are you doing when you wake up? How are you going to reset your relationship with hobby and find the fun again.
Good question, Rufus.
Yeah, you may ask yourself, how did I get here? All right. Who wants this? Who wants to go first?
The first thing I'm going to do if the relationship is broken is I'm just going to start digging through what I already own until something excites me. I'm going to find a model that excites me. And as soon as I'm like, ooh, I do not second guess it. I put it together. I prime it. I paint. The moment you put the extra hurdles in front of yourself to just get into doing the thing that you at one point loved, the more you're going to second guess whether you actually love it. But once you're 10 minutes in, you're going to remember. So, yeah.
I would grab a big piece of terrain because you don't need to paint terrain to the same level of detail as everything else.
Sit down.
Come on. You want some? Let's go. Let's go.
Boom, roasted.
No, like, I mean, I'm serious. Like, because I get burnout sometimes, and terrain is my, like, it's my happy place that I go to where I can just, like, cool, I can grab a big sponge and throw a bunch of oil paints around and just have a ridiculous time splattering paint. And it's, like, a lot of fun. And so that's just very relaxing and sort of clears the pipes and gets you ready to then, like, okay, I got that out. Now I'm back and I'm doing the thing again. Now I can do something more serious.
Yeah. I picture Vince burnout as Vince says, I'm burnt out. And then the camera cuts to him eating nachos. And then the camera cuts back to him painting again.
Yeah.
That's
That
pretty.
quick.
Those are all accurate statements.
Yeah. I feel like I might get a little sad right now, but I kind of feel like that's where I'm at, you know? And the good part of that story is that coming to this show kind of taught me something about hobby motivation and energy. So I'm staying with one of my friends. His name is Scott as well. And he's the guy I painted those Blood Angels for a little bit of lore. And he is an enthusiastic person. He is so excited about the hobby. And you could show him, you know, he saw those new Mandos for Legion and lost his shit. Or he saw a new Necromunda kit and he lost his shit. Like, he's just so excited about everything. And that kind of enthusiasm is contagious. And I went into the Mordheim room and Nathan demoed the game for me. And he loves that game so much. And that love really kind of radiates off people. And so I feel like the generic answer to your question is, you know, if you feel like your interest in the hobby is waning a little bit and you can't find it in a terrain kit or a thing that you own, I feel like surrounding yourself with people who are enthusiastic and excited really can rub off on you. At least it does for me. And so I think the worst thing you can do is isolate yourself and sit in the basement and play Dota all day. Go to a game store, go to a painting night, call up your friend and be like, what are you excited to play right now? Like, let's make a plan, you know, I got this book called Bloody Hollow, which is a riff on Sleepy Hollow in a miniature war game. And, you know, can I get some friends together to do that and create a deadline and make some excitement around it and stuff like that? But I feel like the answer is, for me, is people.
Good answer. Good answer.
Thank you.
All right, we are about to have our
The last question / hot take. It better be a good one.
Hi, I'm Colin. Honored to be the last question. I have a hot take that is probably pretty hot for this room, especially, and this audience. It's that instead of looking down on people who buy miniatures without the intention of painting them, we should, in fact, encourage people to do that, to get into miniatures and stuff, because the money that they spend is what enables the hobby to exist for us.
Nah, look down on them. Boo! Yeah. Screw those people!
Yeah. So to correctly identify your hot take, by a bunch of people overspending on giant piles of gray plastic, they will never paint. They're supplementing the rest of us to have more awesome toys. Have I properly summarized? Yes? All right, I agree with that. And plus, eventually they'll die, and then we get it all in the cheap at their estate sale.
Vintage models.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Win-win. New old stock, baby.
eBay.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. Obviously, we should definitely encourage those people and not look down on them, of course.
Yes, bring yourself to financial ruin to supplement my cool ideas.
I love vocalizing that, though. I love saying,
yes,
look,
good reminder.
One, it brings new people into the hobby, and that there are people, tons, probably more people that buy, let's say, Warhammer, that never painted. Sure. than those of us in this room that we like the painting. So it's wild to think about. We are officially at the results. The champion of the 2026 Trapped Under Plastic live paint is Danny.
Turns out she's not a filthy casual. She is the opposite of that. Unfair. Who said suck it, suck?
Wow, great job, both of you. They're both so well painted.
Yeah.
And you know, we're not going to talk about the fact that I'm still undefeated. Can't be beaten. La la la. But man, that was so well done. Everything other than the paints that I got to take home. Everything else is there is for you. Thank you so much for your time, your 90 minutes, your skills. We can leave some stuff up here if people want to look at their models in person. We're also going to hang out. If you have a question or want to say hi, want to take a picture, not with Vince though, you can do
I'm
that.
out of here.
With Scott and I. I also I'm gonna throw out a bunch of more free stuff, and you guys have to talk while I do that.
Okay.
Watch him like frisbee this into the camera and just destroy it.
Yeah, and me just
Yeah.
just shards of plastic glass.
Yeah.
All right.
Holy shit. Oh my God, John, please.
It's like a lawsuit waiting to happen.
I know, that's what I'm saying, dude. He loves this. Look at this.
I love how nobody who's watching this at home can see this.
I
nonsense going on.
I know. Yeah, John is frisbeeing wet pellets into the crowd right now. All right.
Like speaking of hobby inventions we need next year, we've got to get the wet palette cannon.
Yeah, like the dirt cannon. Yes. Oh, I love that. All right, John.
Did I miss anything important?
No, we were just watching you in horror and fascination.
Yes. Did you eat all your cookies?
Yes, I did.
10 out of 10 hard cookies.
10 out of 10.
Hard cookies. Hard cookies. Okay.
It's not happening. Stop trying to make fetch happen.
Oh man, this has been. I really like the hot takes thing.
I did too. Yeah.
I did too. Y'all had more gumption than I was kind of expecting. This is a lot of fun. Did anything else that we missed?
No, we actually did everything on the list pretty much.
Wow, we did so much homework, guys. Scott and I had 3 business meetings about this episode.
And the only thing that was different was the hot takes.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for Trapped Under Plastic Live 2026 at Adepticon. We'll do the lights at the end, so if people want to come up and look at your models under the lights, you can grab the wet palette.
Are we done?
You both have to drink your dirty water.
He's got to do his end of the podcast line. Oh my God, he's actually drinking it. Okay. You guys didn't vote for this guy? Holy sh! We're not worthy. Danny, response? Okay.
The winner does not need to do extra things to impress you.
Okay, fair.
They are both rush lickers. That's
Holy
the least amount of paint they actually ate
That was
tonight.
hardcore.
Oh no, he's finished.
Oh my God! Another guy came up to drink the water.
Oh.
God damn! You know, next year I feel like the loser should have to drink the cups of water. Because of that, yeah.
What is this, like turning into Fear Factor? Also, we're gonna put giant banana grubs in the bottom of the water cup.
Yeah.
You need to do your outro?
No.
Okay.
What is the outro for the show?
The flippity flop one?
Oh, yeah. Thanks for joining us. TUP Live 2026. We'll catch you on the
flippity flop.
See ya. Hey, let's do it again. Let's do it again, but then you guys say it. Oh, yeah, you guys are good at this. All right. Thanks for joining us in TUP Live 2026. We will catch you on the